In Halcyon, the city of Lama. What do you mean there is no reply? A person shouted. How does a team of 20 trained hunters go missing? He spoke with a furious look on his face. The hunters before him were silent, with no excuse for their current situation. I don't care if you need to search through that damn forest, find the supplies no matter what. Send another team, this time, tell the A-rank hunters to move, the man said with a furious tone. This group was responsible for handling the smuggled items, which were very important this time. If the people from there come, I can't tell them that things have gone wrong, the man thought. Standing on a cliff-like place, Asher removed his mask as his crimson-red eyes fell on the river flowing below. Taking out his sword, Asher looked at it as he touched the smooth surface of the blade with his hand. Even without the system, Asher could tell that his sword was now a rank C artifact. It wasn't difficult to know this because this was the sword that was with him through every battle he fought against monsters and humans alike. Kai and Dane weren't here because they were visiting the base where Richard's group smuggled their items and sold the children that they trafficked. Halcyon was the perfect place to do such stuff because it was a very closed continent, and without proper reasons and connections, it was hard to enter Halcyon. Less than boss, shouldn't we report these guys to the authorities? Greater than. Tom asked. Why do you think I will do that? Asher asked as he kept staring into the cliff. Less than I mean, your goal is to damage the Alistair family's business, so wouldn't reporting them and exposing these things help us in doing that? Greater than. Discard those ideas from your mind, Asher replied. Tom didn't say anything after that, and the call disconnected soon after that. The sound of wind and water flowing was echoing as Asher looked behind where multiple corpses were present. Asher stood once again as he touched another corpse and used his bloodline ability. He felt his strength growing slightly while Riffer devoured the whole corpse. Although he couldn't see his status, Asher was very sensitive to the sensation of him getting stronger. A normal rank C hunter could never do this, but Asher's mind wasn't of a rank C hunter. You don't want those? Asher asked Riffer, who shook his head in denial. Apart from a few powerful B-rank hunters, Riffer didn't want to devour any other humans. Taste dull, Riffer communicated to Asher. Firestorm, Asher muttered as flames erupted from the ground, burning the corpses. The storm elevated the burning bodies that slowly turned into bones and threw them onto the cliff as they fell into the river. Turning around, Asher looked at the other side of the cliff. Blink, Asher muttered as he crossed over the massive cliff that even a B-rank hunter would have a hard time crossing. Asher sprinted forward, and after doing so for a while, he stopped as he could see the huge wall and gates that were present, and beyond them lay the city of Lama. Lama was one of the cities where the most trade happened, so much so that it was called the Merchant's City. And it was the only place where the smuggled stuff would get traded or be transported to the one that demanded those items. But instead of entering the city, Asher turned to his right and started going for a particular gate that he got intel from Jarrell Neville. Although the city of Lama was under the royal family's control, and every trade needed to be reported to the royal family, the influence of other powers allowed such cracks to appear. The influence of the Alistair family also grew a lot in the city of Lama over a few decades as well. After running around the wall, there was one particular huge gate that was very empty. It was the very gate that Jarrell Neville told them about. It is the most convenient way to enter the city of Lama and also the way most people illegally enter after acquiring fake identity tags. Reaching the gate, Asher stepped in as the identity tag got identified, and he stepped into the city. There were few guards, but they ignored Asher as soon as they saw the black mask on his face. This route was used for such activities a lot, and these guards were only there for namesakes. Entering the city, Asher could see the buildings, but the city wasn't full of buildings. Halcyon had respected its tradition, and the technological advancement in architecture was particularly behind in Halcyon. The base that Ron had told them about was also inside the city of Lama, but it was away from the central area where most of the population was. Inside a casino that was in the northern area of the city of Lama. I didn't expect to find a whole market under that casino, Dane whispered to Kai. They were walking in an underground market den where various crates and people wearing masks could be seen. It wasn't as big as the underground areas that were run by the black market and some illegal organizations, but it was fairly big to surprise Dane. Both of them stopped at one particular building that had two people wearing red masks. In this market den, the masks represented whether you were from Halcyon or outside Halcyon. Kai handed over an identity tag and a token to one of the guards as they looked at them. Richard, huh? You can enter, the guard said. The door behind them opened. Entering the building, they were greeted by a woman wearing a suit. So, what do you want to look at? She asked. Wilbur's tale, Kai said as the woman nodded and guided them to a particular room where a man with a scar under his eye was sitting. The word that Kai said was a code word that was used to meet with a specific dealer that dealt with that stuff. Kai and Dane took a seat as the masked men took out the notepad. So, what kind of product are you looking for? He asked as he passed the notepad towards Kai. Depending on what type of leash you want, we can give you what you want, he said. The leash, here was the drugs that were given to the trafficked kids that were trained till they were 18. Something mild, our boss wants to train them. We are not looking for ones that are used for baits, Dane said. Listening to their demand, the man took out a vial from his desk and put it on the table. 20 million or 3B rank artifacts, the man said as he looked at Kai. We will pay with money, Kai replied as the man gave a nod. Contemporary romance. He stood and walked to a cupboard nearby and placed his hand on top. An opening emerged at the top of the cupboard, and he took a case. Give the money to the woman outside, and this contains enough of Wilbur's tale to last for 5 years, he spoke as Dane stood up and took the briefcase. The dealer wasn't worried that Dane and Kai would try to escape with the briefcase without paying because everything in this area was under their control. Although hidden, even a few S-rank hunters were present here as this marketplace was a den used by various dealers to trade the items that had come across the borders. Richard and his group would also sell the items and give them the children for the money, and everything else was handled by the dealers here. From various illegal organizations, to even influential figures in Halcyon, many people were involved in maintaining this underground market den. While Kai and Dane were taking the drugs, Kai secretly used his bloodline ability on a micro-drone that Tom was using. That micro-drone attached itself to the system that the dealer was using, and while Kai and Dane were doing the transaction, Tom was looking for the details present in the dealer's system. Western side of the city of Lama. Asher was sitting on top of a building. He looked around and could see the whole city. Less than boss, I have found the base where they are training the children greater than. Tom said as Asher stood up. Where is it? Asher asked. Less than, it's not far, I will send you the coordinates greater than. Beep. Asher looked at the notification, and the location that Tom sent him was registered as an orphanage, which was a perfect cover to hide those children and train them. Tell Kai and Dane to get those drugs and look out for any movement in the city, Asher said as he walked toward the edge of the building. Asher looked at the streets that were filled with people, and the image in front of him was very different from the city of Lama had become in his previous life. In his memories, this place wasn't a bustling city but a ruin that was infested by countless monsters. A ruin where all you could see was destruction. But the destruction brought upon the city and multiple others in Halcyon wasn't due to multiple monsters. It was done by just one person, who was considered something akin to a monster. It was Asher himself that brought the destruction to the city of Lama and many others. Everyone walking carefree in the city was unaware of the pair of crimson eyes that were looking at them. A day later, standing in front of a two-story building that was painted in white were a group of 20 or more children who looked 12 to 14 years old and a guy who was standing in front of them. Listen, you all have to complete a full round of the whole path around this mountain. The one who stopped will not be given any medicine this month, a guy wearing a loose red shirt and pants shouted. Despite his loud voice, the children in front of him responded with only nods with their diluted eyes. One looked at them, and anyone could see that something was wrong with them. But the guy didn't look concerned at all, as if he was used to this behavior. Whistle. Hearing the sound of the whistle, the children turned and started running towards the path that was created by several people walking on it. Oi bastard, are you not going to accompany them? Another man who was sitting a bit far away shouted. Who cares? I will just punish the ones that came last, the guy who was shouting at the kids said with a grin. Don't train them lousily. These lots are going with the black squad, the man said as he lit a cigarette in his hands. Don't teach me how to train these junkies. I just need to make sure they are under control. Their real training will start when the black squad takes them anyway, he replied. The children were running through the path without any shoes as they were forced to use mana to shield their bodies. Some of them already had multiple wounds on the soles of their feet, but it didn't seem like they were bothered by the pain. With the clouded eyes and heavy breathing, all of them kept running while desperately trying not to stop. Thud. All of them were running, but suddenly, one of them fell down and tripped over a vine that was present on the ground. He groaned as he felt the pain in his legs as the path had several small stones. Some of the kids looked behind him, but they didn't stop to help him and kept running. No, the medicine, the kid started muttering words as his hands started shaking. His heartbeat became faster, and a feeling of anxiety took over him. He tried to stand up, but his leg hurt a lot. A small injury like this shouldn't have resulted in such a situation, but his leg had several marks and bruises. He was fine running, but tripping made him lose his strength in his right leg. But instead of being worried about himself, his eyes were moving around as he didn't want to be spotted by someone. Do you need your medicine? A voice that sounded muffled was heard by the boy as he turned to see a masked man standing. Yeah, the boy started nodding. In his head, he immediately associated the masked man with being involved with the people in his orphanage, as he had seen people with masks enter and inspect every kid there before leaving. The masked man came closer as he gave the vial of a clear fluid-like thing, and the boy immediately grabbed it and drank. A second later, the boy started groaning in pain as his senses returned slightly. But the pain subsided very quickly as his heartbeat got slower and his breathing became relaxed. Thanks, I will run, sorry, I fell, the boy started apologizing. He didn't even think for a second before bowing towards the masked man, as if he was accustomed to doing this, contemporary romance. I can give you something much better than this medicine, the masked man said. What? The boy became confused. Suddenly, the man took the card with a jewel in the middle and touched the card on the confused boy's leg, where it was bleeding. I will give you something much better than this, he said. Suddenly, a weird feeling of anger and restlessness started growing inside the boy. Unsure himself, the boy wasn't aware, but he still replied. I will do it, aye. The boy started stuttering. Knowing he could get something better than the drug, the boy's slightly dilated eyes started looking at the masked man. He was unaware of the crimson-red eyes that were hidden behind the mask that were looking at him. You just need to do a favor for me, Asher said as he crouched down. I will give you more of this medicine, as much as you need, but you need to do something for me as well, Asher said as the boy stood up on his feet. Take this, Asher handed over a bracelet. It was similar to the one that boy was already wearing, which was used to track these kids if they ever ran away. You will communicate with my people over this, Asher said. You just need to. After 10 minutes, the boy was running at full speed while repeating the same thing. Pour it into the golden pond, pour it into the golden pond, the boy kept repeating it so he didn't forget. After 3 hours of running, the boy reached the spot where all the children were breathing heavily on the ground. The last one has arrived, a man said while stretching his arms. The last 5 would not get any medicines this month. If you want to get it, run the same path 3 times every day for this week, the man with a cigarette in his mouth announced. The man used his mana to suppress any of the kids from rebelling as all of them went down on the ground. Go back and start your training, he spoke as all of them stood up and started walking towards the building. Garen, a man shouted when the one smoking the cigarette turned. What? Garen asked. The Black Squad will be coming next week, so make sure they stay in their best condition, he said. So early, I mean, this batch is pretty good, but I didn't think they would take them to the royal capital so soon, Garen said as they looked at the building. It seems there is a problem with the supply routes and many other things. Don't think too much about it, just focus on managing them, he said. Garen nodded and went back into the building. There were multiple A-rank and B-rank hunters present here, but none of them were aware of the fact that Asher interacted with one of the kids. In World Academy, 2 kids could be seen wearing white uniforms emblazoned with The. Insignia of World Academy. What do you think they will teach us? Livia asked, her face alight with excitement. Our teachers told us it was better to learn here, she added, recalling the time she was taught at Greville Estate. Since both were young and unaccustomed to mana, they had only been taught the basics and martial arts to aid their growth. Presently, their mana cause was still developing, and it would take almost a year for them to stabilize. Soon, both of them reached the classroom, located in the new building constructed for the Greville and Grandis twins. Upon entering, the first thing Lucas and Livia noticed were two kids about their age. They had silver-colored hair and yellow amber eyes, closely resembling those of Silvus Grandis, the Mage Association chairman. They already knew about the twins, but today was their first meeting. They resided in the same dorm, but their floors were separated, preventing access to each other's levels. Unlike the ranker's dorm, there was no difference in mana density on each floor, creating a similar environment for growth. Jacob and Jennifer turned to look at Lucas and Livia. Jennifer, who was sitting atop a desk swinging her legs, stopped and jumped down, moving towards Lucas and Livia. Lucas became alert, but Livia was happy to see someone their age with whom she could interact. Apart from Nate, this was the second time they had encountered peers. Livia was excited, while Lucas remained cautious. "Hey, you!" Jennifer exclaimed, pointing at Lucas. Jacob quickly moved to intervene, but it was too late. "I heard you are a mage," Jennifer stated. Livia was confused by the unfolding events, but Lucas stayed calm. "For your information, I will be the best mage in the world," Jennifer proudly declared. "Okay," Lucas replied, altering Jennifer's expression. "Huh?" Jennifer's expression shifted to confusion. "What do you mean, okay?" Jennifer questioned, frowning. "Jen, let's not fight," Jacob attempted to intercede. "Shut up." Jennifer glared at Jacob, causing him to take 2 steps back. "I am not fighting," Jennifer asserted, turning towards Lucas. As the classroom door opened, in walked Serena Wright, her stature immediately commanding attention. Standing tall at 6 feet, her long dark brown hair cascaded gracefully over the shoulders of her neatly tailored overcoat, bearing the prestigious insignia of World Academy. Her long, dark brown hair framed a face that exuded strictness, with sharp black eyes that seemed to pierce through the room, leaving an impression of unwavering discipline. The glasses she wore did not soften her look but rather added to her severe appearance, and the red bracelets on her arms seemed less decorative and more like silent symbols of strength. Now, everyone take your seats," she instructed, as all 4 of them turned and noticed her. "I am Serena Wright, and I will be in charge of the special class," she announced. "But, I am not done," Jennifer addressed Serena, still upset by Lucas's nonchalant response. "Young lady, this is my class, and now you are a student at World Academy," Serena stated. "Your status, your privilege, none of it will help you here," Serena declared, taking her seat. Jennifer was about to respond but recalled Silvus's warning not to cause trouble for the professors at World Academy, or she would risk losing her opportunity to study there. "Okay," Jennifer acquiesced, and Jacob followed suit. Livia and Lucas took their seats near where they were standing, while Jacob and Jennifer returned to their seats from when they first noticed Lucas and Livia entering the room. "Now, let's start with the introductions," Serena began, turning to Lucas. "Lucas von Greville," he introduced himself, standing in. Then sitting back down. Not just your name, Lucas. Share something about yourself," Serena encouraged, as Lucas tilted his head. "It can be anything, like what you enjoy doing or what you aspire to do in the future," Serena elaborated. Despite her intimidating appearance, Serena was surprisingly calm, which startled Jacob, who had felt intimidated by her looks. "I want to become powerful like my big brother," Lucas said as he stood up again and then sat back down. Serena had an awkward look on her face, but she turned her gaze towards Livia, who looked the most excited among the 4 children sitting there. "Hello, I am Livia von Greville," Livia introduced herself. "Ads by Pub Future. I like cute things and my great sword, and I want to become strong as well. So that I can protect Lucas from scary things. And I want to be like my big sister." "I like your energy," Serena said as Livia smiled and sat back down. Her energetic response was in stark contrast to Lucas's. Amelia Greville is a fine role model, but for that boy," Serena thought. Now, Serena turned her head towards the Grandes twins. Hello, I am Jacob Grandes, and I am here to explore and learn from World Academy, Jacob said timidly and quickly sat back down. That's a good way of thinking, Jacob. And the last one? Serena asked. I am Jennifer Grandes, and I will be the best mage in the world, Jennifer declared. She glanced at Lucas and then turned her head. This will be a bit difficult, Serena thought. Okay, with the introductions done, let me tell you what we will be doing in this class, Serena said. First of all, don't try to force the mana inside your core, she continued. I am sure you all were taught the consequences of what happens when an underdeveloped body absorbs mana, but can anyone tell me what those are? Serena asked. Jennifer instantly raised her hand. Yes, Jennifer. It will cause mana poisoning. That's why all first-year students inside World Academy are around 15 years old, Jennifer answered. Correct, and I hope all of you understand that you are different from the rest of the students, Serena said. Why do you think everyone starts around 15 years old, and nobody can skip grades in World Academy? She asked. In the history of World Academy, there had never been a case of someone skipping grades. And you might even wonder why your education about mana was highly restricted, even though you had access to it. Serena posed another question. Livia nodded her head as this was the question she most wanted an answer to. Most of the instructors, even Nathan, stopped teaching her at a certain point, telling her she would learn those things slowly over time. At first, Livia thought she wasn't good enough, but Sylvie told her it was the same for Amelia as well. It's simple, the world you see and the world I see are very different, Serena explained. Increasing your rank isn't just about getting stronger. When your mana core becomes denser, it affects your entire body, including your brain and nerves. Serena conjured a ball of fire, hovering it just below the room's ceiling, spreading and controlling it. For me, creating that ball of fire and spreading it across is far easier than lifting my finger. In my eyes, the mana inside me has become a part of my body, and my mana heart has perfect control over it. In simple terms, the way you sense mana and perceive things around you gets stronger each time your rank increases. So we will only understand certain things when we get strong enough, and without that strength, we can't learn new things. Livia asked. Correct. If I go into the details, it would be too much for the first day, but you're here to learn, Serena said. That feeling that Serena was describing couldn't be taught and each person needed to explore it themselves. That's why some people even with unlimited amount of resources could never break through a certain ranks because it wasn't a simple process. I have only taught third-year students, so this is the first time I will be teaching the very basics. Don't shy away if you get confused. And one more thing, I hope there is no conflict in my class, Serena said, looking at all of them. Suddenly, the air around Serena changed. Her calmness remained, but her presence became more formidable. There is no system of GP, or ranks for the four of you, so there should be no need for any fights. Unlike other students, who are forced to compete with each other, I want the four of you to focus on your own growth for now. Is that clear? Yes, Professor. Livia answered excitedly. And the other three? Serena inquired. Okay. Why yes, Professor. I don't pick fights with others. The responses were different, but Serena didn't want to intimidate them too much, so she let it pass for now. It might get difficult. I should be a bit more lenient with them, Serena thought. Although Serena seemed patient and calm, she was one of the strictest professors at World Academy. Because how weak four of them were, Serena needed to be careful while teaching them. Okay, today, I will tell you what other classes and professors will teach you for your first year in World Academy. After the class, Serena told the Grandes twins to leave first as she wanted to explain a few more things to Lucas and Livia. On the way to their dorm. Jen, why did you argue with them? Jacob asked. I didn't argue, Jennifer shouted looking at Jacob. I just wanted to know if he really was as great as the elders were making him to be, Jennifer told with a pout on her face. Don't worry Jen, even Grandpa praised you when you learned all those spells so quickly. He even taught you about his silver mana, Jacob spoke with a hushed voice. But even when Jacob praised her, Jennifer wasn't convinced. They all said that a mage born in the Greville family would be very strong, Jennifer muttered making Jacob look at her. HMPH, I will become the best mage in the world no matter what, Jennifer claimed as she kept walking with her head held high. Contemporary romance. World Association. Main tower, top floor. Let the Williams boy handle that thing, Osbert spoke. Tell the Alistair head to support him so that we can begin soon enough, Osbert said as his assistant nodded. The assistant soon left the room as a hologram popped up, and Osbert turned to look at an old man with grey hair and rimmed glasses wearing a lab coat. Speak, Jackson, Osbert spoke. Greetings to the chairman. I apologize for disturbing you, but can we get more of these pure mana crystals? Jackson spoke. Osbert frowned as he looked at the hologram. Are they not enough? Osbert asked. No, but to make that product and carry on with this research, I would need some extra supplies, Jackson hurriedly explained so that he didn't anger Osbert. Work with what you have. I didn't spend that much time and resources for your pathetic excuses, Osbert spoke coldly. Jackson's face turned pale as he bowed his head and disconnected the call. A week passed, and all the fourth years had finally left in World Academy. After a long process of countless guilds contacting students and many secret deals happening, the classes for the students had already begun. And it was around this time that a meeting happened with the student council. Asher and Alyssa were not present as both candidates had opted to enter the trials ground. As you know, I have called this meeting to elect a new student. Council President, Raylan said with a faint smile. The reason that she was happy was because Asher was not present there. Although Amelia and Damien, who were part of the student council as rankers, were present, the one person she didn't want to be present was not there. Surprisingly, Kevin, Matthew, and Licia, the other top 5 rankers, were present here as they all chose not to enter the trials ground so soon. Kevin got this advice from Raylan, who told him to enter later when he mastered what he would learn from the principal, and Licia, who got similar advice from Kiara Everett. On the other hand, Matthew didn't go in as well because he consulted with his proctor, Professor Joseph, about entering the trials ground. The only first years that were redeeming their right to enter early were Asher and Alyssa, and apart from Alyssa, others could see why someone like Asher would want to enter early. Everything had already seemed refined to near perfection, from his footwork to his swordsmanship. Leonard himself wasn't present here, but Jack, who was part of the student council, was. After getting your anonymous votes, we have 4 candidates, Raylan said. First is Blake Cranston, second is Amelia Greville, third is Kevin Whiteheart, and the fourth one is Elena Rothschild, Raylan announced. It was obvious why Amelia was also chosen as Eric Herod, who was handling the duel committee, voted for her. Vanessa Damien and a few others under Eric's control also did. Licia received 5th as she got slightly fewer votes than Amelia, so she wasn't in the 4 selected candidates. But Kevin has voluntarily stepped out, so among the 3 chosen candidates, one of you will become the next student council president, Raylan said. Amelia was sitting with Damien, Eric, and Vanessa, who looked a bit annoyed being called here. Still, she decided to support Amelia because she was the only one she knew there. Among the chosen candidates, both of us and the committee chairman have chosen the 2 candidates, Raylan said. Blake, who was present here, had a calm expression as he knew he wouldn't be selected because of the fact that he supported the Blood faction. Although the student council president position was prestigious and would give him lots of benefits, he wasn't interested in it. Blake was more focused on the trials ground, the place where the heir of the Cranston family became the swordsman he is today. By our votes, the next student council president is Elena Rothschild, Tyrone announced. Everyone started clapping, but Damien and Eric didn't look as happy as they knew the voting was biased. And the vice president will be Amelia Greville, Tyrone said as Amelia and Elena stood up from their seats. Amelia wasn't particularly comfortable knowing she would need to interact with Elena, with whom her relationship had gone so sour. Still, she didn't step back from such a position because of her status. As both of you are in your 2nd year, we will support you if you ever need something, Raylan said with a smile. The committee heads, apart from the dual committee, need to choose their new heads, but it will be their own decision and will be done later, Raylan said as she stood up. Both of you, please come here, Raylan said as Elena and Amelia walked up to the front. Raylan and Tyrone took off their badges and removed their mana from them. The shine on the badge disappeared as they handed it to Elena and Amelia, respectively. Elena and Amelia poured their mana, and suddenly, the badge started shining as it floated in the air and attached itself to their uniforms. It was the symbol of power that the student council president and the vice president had. Licia was fifth on the voting list, as she got slightly fewer votes than Amelia, so she wasn't one of the 4 selected candidates. But Kevin has voluntarily stepped out, so among the 3 chosen candidates, one of you will become the next student council president, Raylan said. Although Licia Halcyon was selected to be the 4th candidate as she was the person with the most votes in 5th place, she declined, so we only have 3 candidates, Raylan said. Amelia was sitting with Damien, Eric, and Vanessa, who looked a bit annoyed being called here, but she decided to support Amelia because she was the only one she knew there. Among the chosen candidates, both of us and the committee chairman have chosen the 2 candidates, Raylan said. Blake, who was present here, had a calm expression as he knew he wouldn't be selected because of the fact that he supported the Blood faction. Although the position of the student council president was prestigious and would give him lots of benefits, he wasn't interested in it. Blake was more focused on the trials ground, the place where the heir of the Cranston family became the swordsman he is today. By our votes, the next student council president is Elena Rothschild, Tyrone announced. Amelia and Elena stood up from their seats. Amelia wasn't particularly comfortable knowing that she would need to interact with Elena, with whom her relationship had gone so sour, but because of her status, she wasn't going to step back. Congratulations, I hope you lead the student council well. If both of you need any help, feel free to ask us, Raylan said as everyone clapped. Contemporary romance. As both of you are in your 2nd year, we will support you if you ever need something, Raylan said with a smile. Kevin was happy to see that Elena and Amelia were selected. Maybe they can become friends again, Kevin thought in his head. He was glad that Asher was not present here because if he was, there was a great possibility of him being selected as the vice president. And Asher was the last person that Kevin wanted near Elena. Asher was rank 1 and also the committee head. His status as the heir of the Greville family would have forced Raylan, Tyrone, and the other 2 committee heads to vote for him. If they didn't, it was simply them challenging the status of the Greville family. Tyrone and Raylan would have been fine, but for Zoe and the head of the discipline committee, it was an outcome they wanted to avoid. Among the ones clapping, there was only one person whose mind wasn't present there, and it was Jack Allister. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't concentrate fully as the conversation he had before coming to this meeting made him unable to focus on anything. Should I tell Leon to stop? Jack thought in his head, ignoring everyone around him. Jack was having a headache thinking about the conversation as Leonard only told him what they were going to do, but he didn't mention how. This made Jack a bit anxious because what they were doing was something that was extremely risky even for the son of the chairman of World Association. But part of him was excited to do this, as he was confident that if Leonard was doing all this, he had a perfect plan in mind. If we pulled it off, I can finally gain the same trust as Rhys Williams, Jack thought in his head. What the hell did you mean everyone went missing? The man exclaimed as he destroyed his table with his hand. We can't carry on with the search. There are rumors of a powerful monster sighting in the forest of Lama, the guy before him replied. But the answer didn't please the man, his anger was fully visible on his face. His subordinate didn't have any words to explain the situation. So many rankers going missing didn't make sense to him. Do we need the S rank? The man muttered, a frown forming on his face. Damn it, he kicked the broken part of the table. His strength was enough to leave a mark on the wall. His annoyance was understandable as not only did they lose contact with their powerful members, but the items that were being smuggled were missing as well. And they were still not sure whether those people fell to a monster or if someone else was intentionally targeting them. It was usual for illegal organizations to turn against each other, but this time, the people who were carrying the items weren't from some illegal organizations. Contact the Black Squad, tell them that their men have gone missing, and we lost our people as well, the man sighed as he decided to go with the obvious choice. Whatever was within the forest of Lamar was clearly stronger than what they could handle. Reporting it to the World Association or the Royal Guild wasn't a good choice, knowing the background of the people who went missing. 2 more days went by as the announcement of the new student council president was done. Some of the third years were not happy that a second year like Elena and Amelia were given the position, but given their status, nobody raised a voice. Rather, people praised Elena in order to get good grades with both her and Kevin, who is now a successor candidate. "What are you doing here?" Sam, who came outside to the outer sector, saw Damien sitting in a sweet cafe while munching on some snacks. "Oh, it's you." Damien looked at Sam and continued eating. Sam forced a smile, but Damien's attitude did make him a bit angry. This guy might have a talent for irritating others, Sam thought in his head as he sat at the same table. He was not really friendly with Damien, but he found him pretty normal, unlike others from famous families. "I thought you would be doing your sparring session," Sam spoke as he touched the device on the table and started ordering on the hologram that displayed the menu. "That was the plan, but Amelia is busy reading books," Damien said with a bored look on his face. "Is this guy feeling lonely?" Sam thought as he looked at Damien's expression. Both Asher and Amelia were busy, so Damien was truly bored, so he came out to spend some time outside. "Even Lucas and Livia are having their class," sigh, Damien muttered, making Sam even more uncomfortable. Sam was used to an environment where people his age would try to take advantage of him or rile him up. But he wasn't used to comforting others. The only person he had as his friend was Matthew, who rarely spent time outside, and all he did all day was train. "Maybe, go to the great library. You might find something interesting," Sam was speaking, but Damien put the spoon down and started staring at him. "Do I look like someone who would spend time in that place?" Damien asked. I don't know," Sam replied. "I don't want to study. I want to fight. If only Ash was here, I could have some fun as well," Damien said as he started looking at the sky. They were sitting outside, but there were no other students to notice their interaction. This part of the outer sector was rarely visited by students during this time. That was why Sam came here in the first place. Soon, the waiter arrived outside with the dessert that Sam had ordered, and he was surprised to see Damien staring at the sky. Ignore him," Sam said as the waiter nodded and carefully placed Sam's order on the table, "contemporary romance." Both of them kept doing their own thing, and after a while, Sam left Damien on his own. Sam's outing wasn't simply because he was bored. He was waiting for somebody, and that somebody arrived soon enough. "Did I make you wait a long time?" Eric asked. "Not really. I went to eat something," Sam replied. Eric Herod was the one who called Sam in the outer sector to give him something. "This is what young master told me to give you," Eric said as he took out a ring. "In it are a few things that young master told me to give to you," Eric said. "You will also receive the instructions from young master on how to use them," Eric added. Sam took the ring and immediately placed it inside his pockets. He didn't check what was present, as Asher had told him that Eric was not part of Zephyr. Sam already knew from the words that Eric used that he was fully unaware of his young master being the most wanted criminal in the world. "I didn't check anything inside as this ring has an encryption rune, and young master told me that you already have it," Eric asked. Sam nodded as Eric smiled. "Okay, I will go now. Don't tell anyone about our meeting," Eric said as he turned to leave. "So, this is my first task," Sam thought as he took a deep breath. He was aware that he would not receive Asher's help for free, and he was ready to complete whatever Asher wanted from him if he could gain Asher's help. "I guess he would only give the instructions before entering the trials ground," Sam guessed. He was fully unaware of the fact that Asher wasn't inside World Academy at all and was actually targeting his family in Halcyon. "Boss, wouldn't they send someone stronger next time?" Dane asked. Asher, who was in the middle of practicing his swordsmanship, stopped. "They will," Asher replied. "I don't want to sound weak, but if they send many S-rank hunters, it might get a bit difficult defeating them," Dane said. "Shouldn't we leave now? I mean, we don't have to risk it," Kai also suggested. Asher's plan was to kill the next search team as well as they have done till now, but both of them were right about the danger. Just Louis Rothschild was enough to make them run for their life, and if multiple S-rank hunters came, it would become quite dangerous. "They will not send multiple S-rank hunters," Asher said. But Dane and Kai didn't know why Asher was so confident about it. 3 cities, including the city of Lama, have been declared destroyed, the female anchor announced. A red alert has been issued, and the citizens of Halcyon are advised to move closer to the royal capital for their safety, she continued. In response to the escalating threat from Zephyr, His Majesty Revil Halcyon, King of Halcyon, has granted the military rights of the entire royal guild to the Alistair family. Asher von Greville, the leader of Zephyr, has been declared an enemy of all 5 continents by the High Council, she added. The chairman of the World Association has stated that Zephyr will soon be defeated. However, the emergence of the new gates has postponed this operation. Citizens are urged to evacuate cities near the emerging new gates. We at HALN News. The mood in the studio was somber, reflecting a world order that, just a few years ago, was peaceful but now was in turmoil. The instigator of this chaos was Asher Greville, heir to the now fallen Greville family. First, it was the Garcia family, and now the Greville family, a man sighed backstage. If the authorities hadn't been so negligent, this guy would be dead by now, a young man added. Enough talking, back to work, a woman in her 30s commanded. The studio buzzed with activity, reporting on numerous pressing matters. Even the internet was full of people expressing their anxiety. Some feared the monsters, while others criticized the World Association and other authorities for failing to eliminate the world's most wanted criminal till now. World Association Tower. I am telling you, we need to kill Asher Greville. An old man, in a suit shouted, calm down. Do you think any of us disagree? Another old man replied. The Assembly of World Association executives, lacking the presence of the 3 SSS rank leaders, was fraught with outbursts. How can we remain calm in such a situation? A different old man stood up from his seat. What do you suggest? Have you all forgotten why Chairman Osbert and the Vice Chairman are absent? A man in his late 30s explained. Less than attention. Greater than. A robotic voice announced, causing everyone to halt and turn towards the entrance of the large room. Less than Leonard Tervian is entering greater than. The room's atmosphere shifted dramatically as everyone fell silent at the sight of a person with light brown hair and deep blue eyes, bearing a strong resemblance to the chairman of the World Association. This was not the only reason for the profound respect and fear accorded to him. He was Leonard Tervian, owner of Crousel Corporation, the world's largest company, and a key figure in the current situation, with most of the young generation of elite families on his side, despite his ties to the World Association. Leonard Tervian's mere presence was enough to silence everyone in the room. Leonard walked up and took Osbert's seat, and no one objected. Young Master, Osbert's assistant began, approaching Leonard with a report on the meeting, but Leonard raised his hand to stop him. I understand many here want to stop Zephyr. Leonard inquired. A profound silence filled the room. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of Leonard tapping his finger on the table echoed. That's good. I too wish to eliminate such threats, Leonard said, smiling. We've located some of Zephyr's bases. An old man announced. With enough hunters, I'm confident we can eradicate Zephyr and Asher Greville for good, he declared with conviction. But how can we gather enough manpower? Another executive interjected. They all were careful to keep their voices subdued. We can't afford to divide our forces too. I will permit it, Leonard interrupted, changing the expressions of many executives. We face larger problems that demand our focus, so I've decided to end Asher Greville once and for all, Leonard declared. Dalton Rothschild, the seat holder of the Rothschild family, will handle this, so you can all rest easy, Leonard announced, surprising many. With all SSS rank hunters preoccupied due to the current crisis, the mention of Dalton provided assurance. The previously tense faces brightened somewhat. With an SSS rank hunter involved, they felt confident that Zephyr would be defeated. If Lord Dalton is taking charge, our faction will also sup, an old man started, but Leonard's cold gaze silenced him. My team will take care of this. I want all executives to concentrate on other urgent projects, Leonard instructed. Ah, as you wish, the old man acquiesced. Far away, in the secluded edge of the lost land. We're heading to Fascia, a man in a white mask declared, removing it. Rumors suggest Leonard Tervian will be traveling there, he added. But Sir Tom, are we sure we shouldn't all accompany the leader? And won't Leonard Tarvian be escorted by many powerful individuals? The man in the black mask questioned. Tom burst into loud laughter, then abruptly stopped, stepping forward and tilting his head. Have you forgotten who our leader is? Tom challenged, intimidating the man in the black mask. The leader of Zephyr, us, whose mere name unsettles the high council that governs the world, Tom declared. His eyes fixed intensely on the man before him. Gather the men, and instruct them to join Dane and Kai, Tom ordered, and the man bowed and quickly departed. We have dispatched the S-rank hunter as you requested. There should be no further delays, the man in the black mask said. He was on a hologram call with the leader of the merchant group stationed inside the city of Lama. But will one be enough? I've sent several A-rank hunters, but none have returned, the merchant group leader replied, his voice tinged with doubt. Do you realize how challenging it is to deploy an S-rank hunter? Nevertheless, I've sent one. If the threat level exceeds his capacity, he'll simply retreat and report back to us, the masked man responded before ending the call. The merchant group leader sighed heavily. What on earth is happening in that cursed forest? The loss of A-rank hunters was a significant blow, as they were crucial for protection, and now all of them were missing, along with the B-rank hunters. In the forest of Lama. I can't believe they were foolish enough to send just one S-rank hunter, Dane remarked, visibly annoyed. They've already lost 12 A-rank hunters and numerous B-rank ones. Do they really think a single S-rank hunter can resolve this? He questioned. He's a scout, Asher interjected, gazing towards the cliff's edge. That makes sense. They must be cautious about the potential presence of an SS-rank monster in this forest, Kai deduced, grasping Asher's implication. But why would an SS-rank monster be near this forest, so far from the Lost Land? Does that even make sense? Dane pondered aloud. Does the simultaneous awakening of 4 calamities make any sense to you? Kai retorted. Dane fell silent, scratching his head, realizing the gravity of the situation. The Royal Guild was evidently taking the issues related to the Lost Lands seriously. The awakening of the calamities increased the likelihood of encountering high-ranking monsters near the Lost Lands' outer areas. Dane realized that it was because of their action that all the guilds, especially high-ranking hunters, were being careful with the Lost Land. Even though Halcyon was not in immediate danger, but the chances of encountering a high-rank monster that has ventured out of the Lost Lands wasn't zero. Is the trap set? Asher inquired, standing up. Yes, we've spread the drug around that area, Kai confirmed, looking over the cliff. Less than the moment they lose contact with the S-rank hunter, the probability of a team full of S-rank hunters or an SS-rank hunter arriving will increase. Greater than. It's alright. We're not planning to wait here for them, Asher said, putting on his mask. A month more, Asher thought to himself. This was the time he had remaining before he needed to return to the World Academy. The trials ground was about to open, and Asher needed to complete his objectives in Halcyon before then. 3 days later, Forest of Lama, always looks so gloomy, the man said, stretching his arms as he gazed down at the forest from atop the boundary wall surrounding the city of Lama. Where to begin? He mused, squinting his eyes. His mana spread in the direction he was looking, yet nothing noteworthy captured his attention. Dash. Suddenly, he dashed forward, leaping directly into the forest. His attention was drawn to a direction where he sensed traces of mana. This mana was distinctly human, unlike the rampant mana of a monster, and easily detectable by someone of his caliber. Within seconds, the man arrived at the edge of a cliff. That's quite a drop, he observed, peering over. A monster wouldn't choose to fight here. It doesn't add up, he said, touching the ground and examining the surroundings. There were no signs of a monster, but he was certain of the remnants of hunters and their residual mana, contemporary romance. As an experienced scout, such deductions were second nature to him. However, no amount of experience can fully prepare one for the unknown. Sniff asterisk, is there something in the air? He wondered aloud. His realization came too late. From the moment he entered this area, he was enclosed by a space element spell, something unfamiliar to him, even as an S rank, due to the rarity of space element mages. Instantly, a spear materialized in his hand, his instincts warning him of imminent danger. Drip. The sound of a droplet made him look down, only to see a deep red spot forming between his feet. Blood, he questioned, touching his nose, from where the blood originated. What the man exclaimed, his confusion evident. An S-rank hunter's body is designed to endure impacts that could easily dismember a regular person. Yet, here he was, bleeding unexpectedly. His bafflement was understandable. Quickly, his confusion morphed into heightened alertness as he firmly grasped his spear. Moments ago carefree, the man was now acutely aware of the lurking danger. His background as an S-rank scout had honed his skills, making him adept at assessing situations. That's when he recognized a familiar sensation, one usually felt within dungeons. It was the unsettling transition from being the hunter to the hunted, the shift from predator to prey. Damn it, he yelled, as his mana surged uncontrollably. Under normal circumstances, the released mana would have decimated his surroundings, obliterating everything with its force. But the expected destructive power didn't manifest as he felt mana inside his body became stagnant, and in that moment, he realized he'd fallen into a trap. He prepared to react, but it was slightly too late. Suddenly, his world turned upside down. For a brief moment, he glimpsed a figure in a black mask behind him before succumbing to his fate. It's a pity, Asher remarked, as he and Kai appeared seemingly from nowhere. All three of them were concealed using Kai's ability, and it was Dane who had slain the S-rank hunter. Asher observed the lifeless body of the S-rank hunter. Had he been the one to end the hunter's life, it would have yielded substantial experience points, and he might have absorbed the hunter's stats as well. However, two significant issues prevented this. Firstly, the system was currently non-functional. Although Riffer was unaffected, all aspects related to the system were temporarily sealed. The second, more crucial reason, was Asher's own limitations. Even if he attempted, there was a considerable risk that his strike wouldn't be lethal enough for an S-rank hunter. Despite his ability to manipulate time, Asher's power remained constant. As AC rank hunter, albeit comparable to AB rank, his attacks were insufficient to fatally wound an S rank hunter. Such a hunter, infused with immense mana and capable of decimating their surroundings, was not easily harmed by anyone below A rank. Different from mages who used their mana as a shield and lacked aura, other hunters depended on aura to fortify their bodies and endure the harsh environments of dungeons above a rank. Yet, unable to deal a fatal blow, Asher drew his sword and pierced the heart of the S-rank hunter. Adds by Pub Future. Although it was difficult to pierce the lifeless body, but because there was no struggle from the dead S-rank hunter with the huge amount of aura that Asher used. Whoa, Dane uttered, while Kai observed silently. Neither understood Asher's intent, but the unique golden runes on the sword indicated it was an artifact. Golden runes emerged from the sword's tip, absorbing the aura from the mana heart of the deceased hunter. The aura of an S-rank hunter was distinctly more potent than that of a rank or lower. It inherently strengthened the body without the need to actively use aura as a shield. Thus, Asher could do no more than inflict a deep wound on an S-rank hunter, that would result in giving the S-rank hunter the split second to react to that attack. Because of this, Dane took on the task of beheading the man, as he was the only one capable of ending him with a clean strike. Riffer emerged, drawn by the power of the mana heart, but refrained from attacking the dead body while Asher was still in the process of absorbing the aura. The potent aura's energy was being absorbed as Asher withdrew his sword from the corpse, observing the runes that were fading on the blade. He had experienced this before, but in his memories, the structure of the runes always collapsed. The sword in his memories wasn't fully unsealed, so it couldn't reach its true potential. But now, with just one S rank, the sword had ascended to B rank. Even without the system, Asher felt a familiar sensation. Although it was far from its original S rank strength, he sensed the sword was at B rank, resonating well with his aura. Holding the blade horizontally, Asher's crimson-red eyes reflected in the shiny black blade. In his emotionless gaze, he recalled the many he had slain to instill fear of his blade in everyone who knew his name. Still too far, but, he muttered. The blade was far from its peak, the blood it had absorbed until now was insufficient. It's faster, Asher noted to himself. In his previous life, to elevate the Sword of Chaos to an S-rank artifact, Asher had to kill many S-rank and even SS-rank hunters, but this time the process was much quicker. Is it because it's not a cracked sword anymore? Asher pondered. In his past life, the Sword of Chaos was like a cracked vessel, leaking aura energy and unable to surpass S rank. However, due to the sword's ability to weaken any aura user, Asher had never used another sword in his entire life. This time, the seal was properly undone, without the cracks that previously limited the amount of aura it could absorb. Asher glanced at Riffer, who, understanding his intention, proceeded to envelop the body with his black, fog-like energy. For Riffer, the body of an S-rank being was a delectable treat, and unlike Asher, he had no restrictions preventing him from devouring the deceased hunter. Dane and Kai were still adjusting to Riffer, whose presence now resembled that of a B-rank monster. Like Asher, Dane's instincts warned him that the small, unique, serpent-like creature was a threat. Despite their reservations, neither of them voiced their concerns, understanding that the beast belonged to Asher. Both were acutely aware that possessing too much knowledge was often a burden and could lead to unwelcome consequences. Half a year earlier, they had been on the run after deserting Spider. The reason Spider had exposed them to the World Association was precisely because they knew too much. The information gathered during their missions had ultimately become a liability, contemporary romance. Consequently, Dane and Kai had made it a point not to ask unnecessary questions, sticking strictly to mission-critical information. Asher raised his sword into the air and swiftly brought it down. An arc of his aura surged forth, slicing cleanly through the nearby rock formation. Observing the cut, Asher deduced that the passive ability of his sword, increased sharpness, had improved. Time to leave the city, Asher declared, turning towards the edge of the cliff. Capital of Desmar. In one of the Rothschild mansions. So, you were telling me that this woman has managed to eliminate all the moles we planted within Abyss Corporation? James inquired, his gaze fixed on his butler. The butler could only bow his head in disappointment, equally baffled by how all their informants had been exposed. Typically, it was common for one or two to be discovered, but now, all of them were unreachable. The mana in the room began to fluctuate wildly as James Rothschild struggled to contain his anger. Find out who leaked this information, James commanded, his eyes piercingly focused on his butler. With a respectful bow, the butler promptly left the room. James was puzzled by the situation. The moles were not low-level operatives, they were in significant positions. However, the Rothschilds were not the only ones facing this dilemma. Many others who had deployed similar tactics found themselves in the same predicament. The mastermind was Asher, who had cleverly orchestrated the entire scheme. He had instructed Tom to plant deceptive clues in the Abyss Corporation's database, leaving the rest to Sylvie. Sylvie, the founder of Abyss Corporation, was adept at detecting any irregularities within her company. With the traps set by Asher, she could identify all the moles, including those Asher hadn't specifically mentioned. With a heavy sigh, James activated the holographic screen and scrutinized it. I hope he doesn't complicate things further, James muttered to himself. Initially, James was reluctant to confront the Grevils, but following their recent confrontations, his stance had shifted. The influence of other factions in Somalia had waned significantly in recent months. After much deliberation, James resolved to play a card he had been hesitant to use, Louis Rothschild. He has been quiet for a while now. I should have faith in him, James murmured, lost in thought. The challenge with Louis lay in his short-tempered nature and the significant troubles he had caused. However, this time it was Dalton Rothschild himself who had instructed Louis, so James's concerns were somewhat alleviated. Furthermore, since the incident involving Zephyr's theft, Louis had remained uncharacteristically silent, leading James to hope that he was ready to assume more responsibility and had matured beyond his earlier impulsiveness. City of Warnes, Somalia. At the airport, 3 private aircrafts landed, and from one of them emerged a man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Master Louis, we have an appointment with the World Association this afternoon, a middle-aged man said, following Louis closely. Louis nodded, signaling his acknowledgement of the schedule. The man, a hunter serving the Rothschild family, was somewhat intimidated by Louis's reputation for having a short fuse. However, Louis had been surprisingly reserved throughout their journey. This change in demeanor was the reason James felt more assured that Louis wouldn't stir up any trouble during his stay in Somalia. But what was going on in Louis Rothschild's mind was unknown to them. I will find the evidence here, Louis thought to himself as he surveyed his surroundings. Standing in Werns, located in the southern part of Somalia, Louis was there not only for the mission given by Dalton and James but also to seek evidence. With each passing day, his anger and frustration intensified, driven by his desire to expose Asher Greville, the man he blamed for his mission's failure and the subsequent damage to his reputation. If the Zephyr incident hadn't been classified as a top-level threat, it would have left an indelible stain on his name. These Greville bastards are related to Zephyr, I will prove it, Louis thought in his head. He had kept silent only because no one would believe his seemingly outlandish claims. Thus, Louis decided to uncover the truth himself. He was in Werns because if the Greville family heir was involved with Zephyr, this was where he would find any leads. Suddenly, all the hunters, including Louis, became alert as they sensed the approach of powerful individuals. They heightened their mana levels but remained composed, as Louis' team consisted of highly skilled S-rank hunters. Nice to meet you, Sir Louis Rothschild. I am the squad leader assigned to collaborate with you during your stay in Somalia, said the man in a suit, greeting Louis warmly with a smile. These individuals were members of the World Association, there to welcome Louis, who had been sent on behalf of the Rothschild family to assist the World Association when they needed additional manpower. With the emergence of numerous dungeons worldwide, many B-rank and lower hunters were being mobilized. Even S or A rank hunters were tackling B-rank or higher dungeons, tasks they wouldn't normally undertake. Louis was present under the guise of an exchange program, where the World Association lent their manpower below A rank to their Desmer branch. I can't believe we have the opportunity to collaborate with the renowned Louis Rothschild, the man remarked, smiling. Ads by Pub Future. Louis nodded, understanding the flattery. Coming from an elite family, he was recognized as a formidable hunter among his S-rank peers, despite his notorious reputation. The main challenge in working with him was his temper, which is why this World Association member, an S-rank hunter himself, was cautious in his approach towards Louis. The vehicles are ready for you too, the man began, only to stop as cracks suddenly appeared on the ground. Crack. A fissure appeared in the land, and a man was seen levitating above. Why does the second son of Sir Dalton Rothschild grace our land? An elderly man inquired, his presence instantly recognizable to Louis. Hassan Trevino, Louis muttered under his breath, causing the hunters around him to become alert. They all knew this name, Hassan Trevino, the right-hand man of the sword god, an SS rank hunter. Although the enormous shadow of Nathaniel Greville undermined Hassan's strength, but these hunters weren't clueless about the identity and the strength of the old man that was floating in the air. The mana around them started rising as they were ready to fight for Louis if the situation demanded it. What do you want? Louis asked, his expression stern. Despite Hassan's formidable strength, Louis's status was significantly higher, and this was something he was aware of. There wasn't a rule preventing members of other elite families from entering Somalia, and Hassan couldn't stop Louis this time. Louis was not only representing the Rothschild family but also acting on behalf of the World Association. Hassan looked down, observing the hunters surrounding Louis Rothschild. A private aircraft. We weren't informed that such powerful hunters were landing in Somalia, Hassan commented as he landed on the ground, facing the World Association representatives. Since a few months ago, numerous pesky flies have been entering Somalia. Forgive me if my greeting seems overly cautious, Hassan explained. Why do we need to inform anyone about our arrival? Louis retorted with a frown. He was struggling to contain his anger, as even the mere mention of the name, Greville, was enough to agitate him. I'm just here to remind you to be mindful of your actions on this continent, Hassan said, his smile disappearing as he made his intentions clear. The atmosphere shifted, and everyone's expressions changed. Does the head of the Greville family know what you are saying? A man from the World Association finally spoke up. Oh, it seems people have forgotten my methods. But I'm sure the second son of the Rothschild family remembers well, Hassan said, locking eyes with Louis. Louis stared back at Hassan for a few seconds before raising his hand to restrain his man from reacting. We are here, Solely to assist the World Association, Louis clarified, to which Hassan responded with a smile. If that's the case, then we will have no issues, Hassan said as he floated into the air, soon disappearing from sight. Forgive me, Sir Louis. I will report this to our superiors, the man from the World Association said, hoping to appease Louis. Don't bother. That man wouldn't act so provocatively on his own, Louis replied dismissively. What do you mean? The man looked puzzled. That man acts only on the orders of one person, Nathaniel Greville, Louis muttered. Forget about this. Lead the way, Louis instructed, shifting his gaze to the man. Ah, yes, please follow me, the man replied hastily, now understanding the gravity of the situation. Louis was correct, someone like Hassan would never provoke the other party on his own, as his actions could damage the honor of the Greville family, but there was only one case where Hassan wouldn't care if his opponent was the World Association chairman himself. And it was when he was working under the order of the Nathaniel von Greville. Leader, are you certain he will heed this warning? One of the Greyhound's members inquired. They were dispersed throughout the area, eavesdropping on the conversation between Hassan and Louis Rothschild. It doesn't matter. Anyone perceived as a threat will be eliminated. Those were our orders, Hassan responded. The benign demeanor of the old man with grey hair and black eyes had vanished. Now, standing before the other greyhounds, was their leader, as ruthless as he was strong. Before departing, Nathan had issued very specific instructions to Hassan and the other two SS rank members of the Greyhounds, to eliminate anyone who posed a potential threat. Shadow every individual accompanying Louis Rothschild. I want updates on every single action they take, Hassan commanded. Yes, sir, all the Greyhounds chorused in unison, vanishing from their positions. While these events unfolded in Somaria, the heir of the Greville family was entering one of the cities bordering Halcyon's capital. Boss, are you sure you want to go into that area? Dane inquired. Yes, Asher responded, removing his mask. Getting past all the security will be challenging, especially since we'll be passing through the World Association's headquarters, they remarked, gazing at the imposing building in front of them. Less than our target is in one of the areas beyond the city. Only members of the royal family and the heads and heirs of the Everett and Alistair families are permitted to access that place. Greater than. Get ready, we only have a month to reach that place, Asher replied. Standing in front of the World Association headquarters in Halcyon, they beheld a massive building that seemed to touch the sky. Within that skyscraper resided everything from powerful hunters to the latest, most advanced technology. The vaults of the World Association contained the accumulated loot and monster materials collected by hunters from across Halcyon. Dispatch the next team, and there is a report about a new dungeon near city. On the 12th floor, numerous hunters, clad in their gear, focused on a large screen displaying several missions and quests. Each monitor detailed specific missions along with the required team ranking, as assessed by the analysts of the World Association. Sigh, another dungeon. Why are so many dungeons suddenly appearing? A hunter muttered in frustration. Other hunters also appeared weary, constantly being summoned to explore new dungeons and compile reports on them. New dungeons, always considered the most perilous, were prioritized over existing dungeons of the same rank. Excuse me, our team needs a scout, a middle-aged hunter informed the receptionist, who was assembling teams. What happened to your assigned scout? The woman inquired. He was injured in the last dungeon, so he's unable to participate for now, the man explained. Injuries were commonplace in dungeons, and most hunters felt relieved when such incidents didn't result in fatalities. Please provide your team leader's name and your team's rankings here, the woman requested, handing over a tablet to the man. As he reached for the tablet, the elevator behind the woman opened, revealing a man in a long black coat who appeared to be in his 40s. Sir Adam, the woman greeted him promptly, capturing the attention of every hunter on the floor. Is that Sir Adam? He seems stronger. So it was true he reached SS rank. Will the power dynamic change between the executives then? Whispers filled the room at the sight of this man, but they soon subsided. At ease, I am not here to disrupt your work. Continue with your duties, Adam instructed, surveying the room. Is the report on the 15 new dungeons ready? Adam inquired of the woman. We have identified the monsters in them, and 12 of them have been cleared fully, the woman replied. And what about the resources? Adam asked. He was one of the executives of the World Association and one of the SS rank hunters who worked in Halcyon under the World Association. Although he had recently become an SS rank hunter, he still managed to get into the position of an executive due to his years of work and connections in the World Association. Adam squinted his eyes as he looked at the lift that was going up from the 12th floor. But looking closely at that lift, the only people present there were the party that went up to get the supplies necessary for their mission. Soon enough, Adam's attention drifted back to the report that the woman handed over to him. I want all the data of these new dungeons and secure as many dungeons as possible, Adam said as he turned around to leave. In the lift that went up from the 12th floor. Even someone like Sir Adam is busy, the man sighed as he leaned over the staff in his hand. Don't get lazy, we have a dungeon to clear, the woman in front said, looking back. I want to rest, seriously, think about it, we just cleared a dungeon 5 days ago, the man complained. No excuses now, we can take 2 weeks off after this mission. We need one more dungeon to raise our team rating, the woman said as she looked back at her teen, contemporary romance. The lift stopped on the 25th floor, where the weapon storage and supply store were located. Come on, let's get everything we need, the woman said as her team left the lift. The man lazily followed her as he looked back, and the lift was going up. Weird, did someone call it up? The man thought in his head. When he was inside the lift, he remembered that the buttons on the higher floor were not lit. Sigh, I really need some rest, the man muttered as he simply thought he didn't remember it correctly. Inside the lift. Phew, Dane spoke as he looked at the button. We got lucky that there were other people in the lift. I didn't imagine an SS rank hunter would come to the lower floors, Kai spoke as he looked at Dane. Less than don't forget, you still have to reach the 78th floor and enter the VIP only area greater than. Don't worry, apart from SS rank hunters, nobody can spot us for the next 4 minutes, Kai replied as his face looked pale. He was giving his all to suppress the presence and mana of all 3 of them. But boss, are you sure you can use that spell? Dane asked. If we try, maybe we can use that necklace to enter that place, Dane said. No, the moment we use an SS rank artifact in that area, the runes there will activate. Asher replied. But, Dane didn't speak, but both he and Kai were worried about it. It was because they didn't think that using spatial magic was good for Asher. Both of them knew how dangerous and self-harming using space element was, but knowing that Asher was going to use it, they didn't know whether it was a good idea or not. But due to the agreement they made with Asher, all they could do was follow his orders. I will take over the security system for 10 seconds, make sure you exit this lift at that time, Tom said through the communication devices. Dane and Kai got ready. Less than access permission, floor 78 greater than. Less than executive level access needed greater than. Less than security breach date 2. Less than executive level access granted greater than. Less than floor 78 is the destination greater than. The lift started going up and didn't stop on the 50th floor that Kai had pressed, which was the highest floor they could access as normal hunters. All floors above that required access cards, and floors above 75 required executive level access. The lift was going up as Kai, Dane, and Asher got ready to step out of it. They had only half a second to step out to make sure that Tom could return the lift back to the lower floors on time. The speed of the lift increased going past the mana detectors that were switched off temporarily. Ding! The lift opened, and Kai and Dane, with Asher in front of them, sprinted out as they followed a specific path. Asher's eyes became focused as he started chanting a spell, making his mana rise. Asher frowned as he felt the burden of using the spell that he recently learned on his mind. But it didn't stop him from chanting the spell. This floor was for VIP members and executives, so the 3 of them didn't have enough time before someone who was SS rank could sense their presence. Most of the pressure was on Kai, whose face was getting paler, and he was feeling dizzy because he was using all his strength to hide them. Right now, if they were caught, the chances were high. The one who would come after them would be an SS rank hunter, and in the worst case, they would need to instantly use the necklace to teleport out of the World Association headquarters. Boss, you need to face the first door around the next corner. That's the direction, Tom said. As Asher closed his eyes, he could feel the space around him. He was still running and was about to turn, but he could feel the space around him. But instead of it, Asher looked past it, somewhere around half a kilometer away from his spot, in a certain direction. Asher stopped as he touched the shoulders of Kai and Dane, as he muttered. Leap. At that moment, another lift on the floor opened its doors, and Adam stepped out of it. The lift that Asher used was already on its way toward the lower floors, so Adam didn't find it suspicious until he sensed a disturbance in the mana in this room. Did someone use a spell here? Adam spoke. He could feel a slight disturbance in the mana around the floor, but it was extremely small, making Adam think it was the aftermath of one of the people on this floor using one of their spells. These old bastards can't stay still for a moment, Adam muttered in frustration, going towards the middle section where his office was present. Ah, Dane said as he felt pressure on his body and mind. Kai was in a similar state as they landed in a forest-like place. Turning their heads, they could see a massive building, the World Association headquarters, but along with that, they could see the massive wall covering this area. This felt even worse than the Continental Teleportation Gate, Dane muttered as he looked at the back of Asher standing before him. Are you in? Tom asked through the communication device. Yeah, Kai replied while massaging his head. But, boss, are you fine? Kai asked, looking at Asher. Asher, standing with his eyes closed, opened them, touched the edge of his eye, and looked at his finger. There was blood on his hand, and this was the side effect of using a space element spell that was considered a forbidden spell due to how dangerous it was. What Asher had done was increase the complexity of the leap magic and reconstructed it into an advanced leap that was considered an upper level of tier 3 spells. Ignoring the mana that was required to do the spell, Asher not only teleported himself but also Dane and Kai. Although the distance wasn't that great, they went past the multiple security systems and runes that were placed around this place. I am fine, but from now on, don't use any kind of artifact here, Asher said as he looked into the sky. Although it appeared like a normal sky, if someone looked closely, runes were floating in the air, and they were detection runes that could detect any type of artifacts, especially ones that were capable of teleporting a person. This place was sealed off and was secure enough to make sure nobody except those who were authorized could enter. The communication device will stop working when we go past that place, Asher said as he sensed the runes hidden on the ground. Kai and Dane looked at the direction Asher pointed at as they nodded at each other. Listen, according to the records in the database I have found, the next time someone would visit this place is in 3 to 4 weeks, Tom reminded them. I couldn't get the exact timing and date because the complexity of their security system has changed. If I interfere any further, there's a chance that they might find out someone is looking in the database, Tom explained. It's enough time, Asher replied. Store that communication device, we will not need them now, Asher said as he took out the earpiece, and placed it inside his storage ring. Following his example, Dane and Kai did the same. Let's go, Asher said as they started running behind Asher. Ads by Pub Future. Soon enough, all of them felt as if they had passed through a sheet of water, and it was the runic layer that was used to suppress all kinds of signal waves inside this place. The place they were inside was something that only a few people in the entire World Association had access to. The only reason the Halcyon royal family allowed them to take care of it was because it attracted a lot of monsters and beasts. As World Association headquarters was full of powerful hunters, it was easier to fend off any monsters that would invade the city, and the royal family didn't have to worry about keeping this place safe. Contemporary romance. For compensation, they allowed the World Association to take the rare herbs that were present in this place. It wasn't any ordinary forest, and even calling this place a forest was wrong. This place was actually a massive garden that had the rarest herbs and plants that were used in many potions and other things. Just the amount of things that could be done by these herbs were countless, from injury healing potions to deadly poison to extremely mana-conductive saps from trees. Be careful, don't step over any plants or touch any flowers here, Asher warned Kai and Dane as he kept using mere steps to accelerate himself. Some of these plants are enough to poison an A-rank hunter, Asher said as Dane became extra careful with his movements. I can't believe they had something like this in this place, Kai muttered. Although Kai and Dane didn't know much about such stuff, they even knew about a few rare plants and flowers that were extremely valuable. And while following Asher, they were able to spot a few of them. But how is this even possible? Dane asked. Why are so many herbs growing in this particular place? Dane's question piqued Kai's curiosity as well. Asher didn't say, but he knew the reason why this place became like this. And the reason behind this was the mana veins that appeared here after a dungeon explosion happened a long time ago. It led to the creation of a mana vein, which allowed the herbs that could only grow inside a dungeon and under a specific environment to grow in a place like this. Or so was the saying that the World Association and even the Halcyon royal family believed. All of them thought that this place became like this because of the mana veins that were present beneath the ground that they were walking on. But they were not wrong either. It was partially because of this reason that these herbs could only grow in this place. But the real reason was unknown to them, but a single person had found out about it. And that was the previous generation head of the Alistair family, and that was around 80 years ago, and that information was passed down to the current head of the Alistair family. That place was hidden in that cave if that guy spoke the truth, Asher thought while running. Apart from the Alistair family head, nobody was supposed to know the truth about this place, but there was one more person as well. And that was Asher himself. Although Asher didn't know the exact location of the place he was looking for, he knew that it existed. It was something that allowed the Alistair family to grow their influence so much in the coming years that, in his memory, the Alistair family became far more powerful than the royal family and the Everett family combined. Keep an eye out for any rocky places or places where you can spot a cave, Asher said out loud. We have 3 weeks to find that cave, Asher said. Okay, boss, Dane and Kai replied together as they sharpened their senses. Asher was constantly using his mana sense to get an image of his surroundings to find the place. That was the reason why he took the trouble of entering the World Association headquarters and even using a spell like that to teleport both Dane and Kai with him. Even right now, Asher is enduring the headache that comes with the usage of space elements. 1 week went by, as Asher, Dane, and Kai were resting in a grassland that was filled with white flowers. This place looked so peaceful a moment ago, Dane muttered with a grim look on his face. When they first arrived at this place, even Dane and Kai were moved by the beauty of the scenery that was in front of them. But that image soon got ruined when Asher told them that those flowers were one of the most poisonous flowers in the world. And they were so potent that even a rank hunters like them would fall to them if they didn't get the correct antidote in 3 weeks' time. But the poison that could be made by correctly using them was enough to kill an A-rank hunter in a second. A poison that Dane and Kai were knowledgeable about because of their life at Spider. Outside the orphanage. Did you get the message from the Black Squad? The man asked. They are coming to recruit this batch of children in 3 weeks, his subordinate replied. Good. I was getting tired of feeding them anyway, the man replied with a frustrated look on his face. Up their dosage, make sure they crave for the stuff like their whole life depends on it, the man said as he passed a small, sealed flask. And reduce their meals as well, the man said as he turned to leave. As you wish, ha ha ha, his subordinate laughed as he turned around to go back into the orphanage.